The elements in the creative process. What the mind does when it's trying to figure things out is, first of all, analyze. We break things down first, and then when we have spread them out, we try to find the principles that explain how things go together. Suppose we have a father who is having a difficult time in relating to his teenage daughter. The first thing that we want to pay attention to is the kind of self-talk that the father is doing. What is he saying to himself about himself? What is he saying to himself about his daughter? That's the first point. The second point is, what are the emotions he's experiencing? What are the behaviors he's experiencing? What are the kinds of thinking is he engaging himself in when he is thinking about his daughter or actually talking to his daughter? The third thing that really is at the nub of the problem is his awareness of something that's very important to him, namely the love of his daughter. That is his ideal, and he wants to concretize that in some practical way in behaving toward his daughter. The fourth element that we have in the creative process will be our human tendencies. These four elements are represented by four circles. The first is the inner circle. The second circle will be paying attention to our emotions and behaviors and ways of thinking. The third circle would be to identify our ideals. And the fourth circle would to become aware of our dominant tendencies. When we look at things behave the way they're supposed to be, and we can clearly explain why they behave the way they behave, because they behave according to external forces. When it comes to human beings, we're affected by external forces like gravity. We're affected by social influences, but ultimately our behavior is explained by what's going on inside of our minds. So what we have here are three different kinds of ways of responding to ourselves in life. We're either confused, we have our lives in order, and then we're always in touch with our more than rational tendencies, which would be our ideals. So there's always a combination going on inside of us, and these particular tendencies that we are experiencing are combinations of the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we behave. For example, if I'm confused, usually my thinking is illogical. Usually my behavior is erratic, and usually my emotion is probably anxiety. If I feel like my life is in order, then I'm going to be thinking logically, and I'm going to have a disciplined way of behaving. And my emotions will be productive. They'll be the kinds of emotions that are going to contribute to success. And then we have our more than rational tendencies, and this is the kind of a tendency that I have to work at. In other words, I'm intuitively in touch with the goodness of my life. I'm intuitively in touch with the ideals that I want to realize, but I need to practice mental skills and develop mental habits so that when I find myself in a given situation, as the father was with his daughter, that strong rational tendency is going to affect the way he is going to process his interaction with his daughter. It's going to make him alert to the kind of thinking that he is doing. He's not going to catastrophize the situation with his daughter. He's not going to overgeneralize her behavior. He's going to watch out for all the illogical ways of thinking that will only make the relationship with his daughter worse. He will also be in touch with that strong super-rational tendency of his love for his daughter. This will put him in a situation now where he can do some reflecting on the practical ways of changing the way he has been behaving toward his daughter. And maybe one of the key ideas that he will come up with will be listening. So in his contacts with his daughter, he now is going to make sure that he opens his mind so that he can listen to not only the words of his daughter, but also the emotion of his daughter, and also the problems that she might be contending with that he doesn't know anything about. Or if he had a different kind of tendency, suppose that he had a strong irrational tendency to be dependent, always looking for the answers outside of himself. Maybe even going to a psychologist to get the answer to the question that he has in his mind about how to improve my relationship with my daughter. If he has that tendency to always be dependent, he's not organizing his own life. He's not organizing the relationship between himself and his daughter. He's depending on someone else. Well, we have 4 basic attitudes toward life, and these attitudes are the results of how strong our rational tendencies are and our super-rational tendencies are, or are not. So, if we have strong super-rational tendencies and strong rational tendencies, then we have a creative attitude towards life. If we have very strong rational tendencies toward life, but our super-rational tendencies are not as strong, let's say moderate, then we tend to be calculating persons. If we have very strong super-rational tendencies and weak rational tendencies, then we tend to be very, very inspirational. If we have a lot of irrational tendencies, we want to try to minimize those, and we want to try to maximize our rational and more than rational tendencies. What we want to do next is find the practical ways of translating our more than rational tendencies, which are our ideals, into practical ways of behaving.